Well, hello, and welcome back to another scary edition of Ghost Stories Told from the South. I am your host for this scary journey, Stephen LeBooth, and I got some skelly stuff for you today, boys and girls. How is everybody doing? Yes, I am back with another good episode, guys. I got some great stories for you today. Before I get into it, though, I want to give a shout out and a thank you to everybody who has been listening, supporting the show. You're awesome. I'm really close to 10,000 downloads, guys. So keep passing the word around. Tell everybody about the show. And let's watch that sucker grow together, man. You guys have been making it grow, and I appreciate it, and I thank you very, very much. Over there in Europe, I want to give a big shout out over there because we're really starting to get our numbers up over there. In UK, Spain, Germany, just that whole area right there, guys. I want to give a big thank you. You guys have really been listening, and I appreciate it so much. See, that's why I love doing this. It just amazes me that my show is being heard around the world and people are actually listening to it. But thank you guys once again. Thank you. And like I said, if you got any ghost stories at all, tell me about them. Send them to me. Excuse me, guys. All right. So, I guess we'll get on with it, guys. You know the routine. Go get you a nice warm blankie. Cuddle up to the fire. Poke it a little bit. Get you some nice hot cocoa or coffee or some tea. And be ready to be scared. All right. Our first story is the Larnach Castle in New Zealand. The Larnach Castle is often referred to as New Zealand's only castle. In fact, the 25-room Gothic building is an historic house, also called Mock Castle. It's located on the ridges of Aotearoa Peninsula near Dunedin. Dunedin Larnach Castle has a magnificent view. You can even see the Pacific Ocean from here. But this was never a happy place. William Larnach. I guess this is the guy who made the castle. Larnach Castle was built in 1871 by a man named William James Moody Larnach. He was a merchant baron and politician. Larnach started his career as a banker in Melbourne. He followed the gold rush to Australia's goldfields in Ariat. God, sorry about that. Had to stop. Something happened. Anyways, the goldfields in Ariat, where he was manager of the Bank of New South Wales. His bank building was a tent, and all was equipped with were a dog, a gun, and some boxes. He did really well, and this was noticed by his superiors. He was offered a new job in Dunedin, where he went in 1867. One day, he went horse riding with one of his sons and discovered a spot on the ridge of the Aotearoa Peninsula. This is where he wanted to build his dream house. The history of Larnach Castle. Before the construction of the house could begin, the land needed to be leveled. Pegs were put into the volcanic rock and salt water was poured in so that the rock could split. It took 3 years and 200 working men to build Larnach Castle. It was completed in 1874. Then he hired some skilled European craftsmen to embellish the interior. This took another 12 years to complete. Materials from all over the world were used. Marble from Italy, floor tiles from England, and glass from Venice in France. And in 1885, a 300 square foot ballroom was added. This was a birthday gift to his favorite daughter, Kate, who turned 21. Now here we go with the family tragedies. Williams Larnach wanted Larnach Castle to be a happy family home, but tragedy struck. His beloved daughter, Kate, died of an illness in her 20s, and he lost his first wife, Alesia, at the age of 38. Their youngest daughter was just a baby. Larnach married his late wife's half-sister. His late wife's half-sister. So he married his wife that passed, her half-sister. But she too died at the age of 38. His third wife, Constance, was much younger when he married her. There are rumors that she cheated on Larnach with his son, with his own son. But there were other problems. Williams Larnach went into politics a few years earlier, but never really got off his banking skills. In fact, he started speculating when Larnach was accused of dishonorable dealings. He thought it was enough. He committed suicide in New Zealand's Parliament building in October of 1898 by shooting himself in the head. God. Wow. A legal tug of war. When Larnach died, he died without leaving a testament, meaning a will. 5 of his children were sent to England for their education. This meant long sea voyages and a lot of time being far away from home and from the family. This had already torn the family apart, and in the death of William, it didn't improve this. What happened? Didn't prove it. Okay. It got worse. Eventually, Larnach Castle was sold in 1906 and has had many owners and purposes since. Larnach Castle after 1906. After Larnach Castle was sold by the family, it was briefly turned into an asylum until 1918. Here people with mental disorders and shell-shocked soldiers were treated. After 1918, the castle was abandoned and was left to decay. See, that sucks. Until it was bought by a man named Jackson Purdue in 1927. He used the castle as a showplace for antiques. When his health started to deteriorate, Larnach Castle was auctioned and bought by Mr. Armstrong during World War II. Over 80 U.S. soldiers were billeted here. After the war, the castle found a new owner. but it was in ruins by the time the current owner bought it. The Baker family is the one who bought it. Okay, the Baker family. Larnach Castle was bought by the Baker family in 1967. There were on road trip. They were on a road trip on the South Island and fell in love with the place. The first years at the castle were quite challenging. Larnach's castle was in ruins. The roof was leaking. Entire floors were missing, and there was a lot of decay. This did not stop the Baker family from restoring the place. They even stretched a lot of the original furniture. God dang it, guys. Y'all need to stop. I'm fixing to kick everybody out. A lot of the original furniture by opening it to the public. They were able to keep restoring Larnach's Castle, but beware of the ghost when you visit. Well, all the history there, and then all the renovations and stuff, it probably stirred up a lot of stuff. All right, now we're gonna go at the ghost of Larnach Castle. The ghost is haunted by several spirits. The current owners are aware of this. 2 Halloween parties and a Victorian ghost story events take place every year. Even though these spirits aren't violent, they're not always amused with all of the visitors invading their space. A couple got pushed apart while entering Constance's room. Her wedding dress is on display here, as well as many of her Victorian toiletries. Okay, I guess that means dresses or something. This room is also much colder than the other rooms in the building. Some think it's the spirit of Constance, who still haunts her former room. Others think it's Elysia's spirit, who's angry because another woman took her place. Excuse me. All right, the ghost of William Larnach. William himself is said to haunt his former dream house. A male figure has been seen around the castle. It makes sense. It is him. Poor William's remains. Poor William's remains were disturbed in the family's crypt in Dundon. His skull was even stolen as a trophy. In 1972, William Larnach's skull was found in a student's dorm. The student showed the skull, complete with hole in the head, to his friends on many occasions. He wasn't prosecuted because he didn't vandalize the skull, and he wasn't the one to disturb Larnach's bones. Even though the skull was taken back to the crypt, it did upset Larnach's spirit. Haunted play. In 1994, 100 were invited to the ballroom of Larnach Castle to witness a play called Castle of Lies. When the performance started, a strong and not predicted storm started outside. The wind was so strong it blew right into the fireplace, causing a small white particles to be blown into the ballroom. Hail began to crash into the iron roof loudly, and when the performers got to the part where Williams Larnach shot himself, a flash of lightning shot through the room. Many guests thought it was the spirit of the Many thought it was part of the play, but it was not. There is a lot of energy at Larnach Castle. Doors are opening and closing on their own. People feel as if they are being watched, and some guests feel as if they are being suffocated in one of the bedrooms. So, all my friends in New Zealand, tell me about this place if y'all have been there. And if you haven't been there, go check it out. Okay, let's get ready for our next story. Our next story is the Whaley House in San Diego. I know y'all probably heard about this one and seen it on TV. What was once thought to be a great investment for a developing family became a vacant monument to tragedy and death. Many members of the Whaley family have met their demise outside outside those brick walls, and many more have been rumored to have died on the premises. Who for sure? Who for sure can say which ones are history and which ones are just ghost stories? Here's a little did you know. The Whaley family left the house in 1858. It would be 10 years until they would live in it again. The Whaley House was home to Theater Theater Troopy, a courthouse, and a general store. So they had all that stuff in this house. It is believed that boat thief Yankee Jim Robinson was hanged right on the grounds where the Whaley House now stands. The ghost of the Whaley House. It is believed that the family members who died in the house still roam its halls to this day. There have also been stories of other spiritual entities that have moved in with the whales. But are those stories rooted in history or rooted in fiction? The Ballad of Yankee Jim. Yankee Jim Robinson had a reputation of being a troublemaker. In San Diego, he was a drunk and a horse thief, and was just about dispissed by everyone in town. Everyone was itchy to get rid of him once and for all. And it seems their chance had finally arrived. In 1852, Jim and two accomplices attempted to steal the Platus, a schooner ship. Although Jim started later on that, he mildly wanted to borrow it. So basically, he was trying to say in his defense, like, I wasn't going to steal it, I was just borrowing it. Yeah. The three men were captured, and Jim suffered a head injury from the rusty sword. Okay, so I guess when they try to apprehend him, he got hit with a rusty sword. The man awaited trial. Jim was given no representation, and was suffering from a fever in his head from his head injury. His two accomplices were each sentenced to 1 year to prison. Troublemaker, drunk, and thief Yankee Jim was sentenced to the gallows. It is rumored that the tree where Jim was hung from was the same plot of land where the Whaley House would end up being built on. And it is rumored that Thomas Whaley witnessed the execution. Nevertheless, reports have claimed a presence in the house where Jim was supposedly hung. Even the Whaley family themselves have made similar claims. It could be that even in death, Yankee Jim still stirred up trouble. Could Jim have cursed the family for trending on the grounds where he died by unjust means? Okay. The legend of Annabella was born. Another story that comes from the mouth of former Whaley House employees. People have reported seeing an apparition of a little girl in the dining room. The employees claim it is the spirit of Annabelle Washburn, a playmate of the Whaley children. The story goes that while she was outside playing, Anna ran into a low-hanging clothesline, breaking her neck. Thomas then found her and placed her on the dining room table where she died. Yet no record of this incident or the child is known to exist. So, if Annabella Washburn never existed, who's haunting the dining room? The history of the Wales family. It's difficult to discuss the various hauntings of the Whaley House without also discussing the family who lived there to begin with. A New Yorker in California. Impassioned by the boom of the California gold rush, Thomas Whale left his home in New York City in 1841 and set off for San Francisco. He promptly set up a store and returned to New York to marry Anna Alois de Lannoy. In 1853, the couple relocated to San Diego. Their son Francis was born in 1854, and in 1856, Thomas had a house built for his family as well as commissioning the construction of his general store. By 1858, the store had been relocated closer to town, and Anna Alois had even birth to both Thomas Jr. and Anna Malia. However, tragedy struck when young Thomas died at 18 months and the store burned to the ground. Stricken with grief, the family left for San Francisco. It would be 10 years before the Whales would see their home again. Tendance and tragedy. While in San Francisco, the Whales had 3 more children, George, Violet, and Carrie. Thomas began setting up stores in Alaska with the family while the family stayed behind. After a massive earthquake struck San Francisco, Thomas and his family returned to disheveled and empty Whale House in 1868. He proceeded to set up another store on the first floor, while renting out rooms on the second floor to a theater type and what would become the San Diego Courthouse. The Whales House hosted a double wedding for both Anna and Violet in 1882. However, Violet's husband abandoned her 2 weeks later. He left 2 weeks later, stricken with heartbreak and humiliation. Violet shot herself in the heart with Thomas's pistol. Thomas promptly moved the family to another house where he would die in 1890. The remaining family moved back to the Whales House in 1912. Thomas's wife, Anna, and their son, Francis, would die in the old family home in 1913 and 1914. Carrie continued to live in the house until her death in 1953. So, with a place like that, it was a courthouse. It was a family house. There's a lot of ghosts there, guys. So if you're in the San Diego area and you have been there, let me know. I'd sure appreciate it. All right, ladies and gents, we have another story. The Recoleta Cemetery. It was a dark and stormy night. Well, not really. When we first visited the world famous La Recoleta Cemetery in Buenos Aires, I think this place is in Argentina. It was a beautiful sunny spring morning. Even so, many first impressions was that the cemetery was the creepiest place I've ever seen. But as we wandered around, godsmacked by the incredible beauty and every state of repair and disrepair, it began to feel more reflective. It does not really matter how much money your family spends on a tombstone. Once you're gone, you're gone. And eventually, our earthly remains will end up in the same state, whether we're in stunning marble monument created by the best Italian sculptors of the day or a pine box in the ground. It's all just the same. All right. I guess this is somebody I forgot to tell y'all telling about their experience when they went there. Okay, we spent 8 days in the place in 2016 as part of a bigger trip to Argentina and Hungary, it looked like. I don't know. Anyways, the cemetery was a big highlight. Honestly, I wanted to take this one with a grain of salt. It's the kind of story your crazy uncle might tell you around the campfire to try and freak everybody out. But it's so lurid that it's probably true. Once there was a teenage girl named Rufina Cambasca who suffered from a type of sickness that could render her unconscious. It would make her unconscious for hours at a time. On one evening in 1902, while preparing to go out with her mother, Rufina had a seizure. Many hours later, it appeared that she had finally died, and this was confirmed by at least 2 doctors. Rufina was laid to rest in the cemetery. As the weeks went by, there were rumors of strange noises coming from her tomb, and cemetery workers found that the lid of her coffin sadly ajar, which means it looked like someone was trying to open it. When they finally decided to investigate, they discovered scratching marks on the inside of the coffin lid and on her face. Apparently, she had came to, panicked, and tried to claw her way out. When she couldn't escape, she finally submitted to a heart attack. This poor girl's mother was so overcome with guilt and grief that she laid her to rest in a fabulous new tomb. A stunningly elegant example of art and style of the period. At the door of the tombstone, a marble statue of her was there. She's standing outside with her hand in the on the latch because her mother wanted her never to feel trapped again. The Harris. Lillian Crocasita de Sachawaca. Anyways, I effed that name up and I'm sorry. Excuse me, guys. That was rude. She was okay. She passed away. She tragically in an avalanche in Innsbruck, Austria in 1970. She was only 26. She was on her honeymoon. Her overcome parents led her to rest in a lovely Gothic revealing tomb. It was composed of a bronze statue of Lillian in her wedding dress. When Lillian's beloved dog died a few years later, his statue was added, and he was also buried in the crypt, against cemetery rules. A couple of levels down in the tomb where Lillian's casket rested is a 2-scale replica of her bedroom, complete with Persian rugs and silk cushions. Oh my God, that's crazy for a tomb. Lillian had some company from a feral cat that day, where their visitors have pinged the dog's noise to a shine. The Woman with a Grudge. Okay, who we got here? Okay. There was a woman who was the wife of Salvador M. Del Carle, a prominent politician, and she was quite a shopaholic. Apparently, her spending was so out of control that her husband finally took out an ad in the paper saying he was no longer responsible for her debts. She never forgave him, and although they stayed married until his death 30 years later, they never spoke to each other again. Holy shit. Imagine being married to somebody and living in the same house that long and never talking to each other. In her will, in her will, she specified that she should be buried in her husband's tomb, about in a separate vault, and her marble likeness should face away from his tombstone. The Pug List. In the 1920s, Louis Angelo Farpo was most famous prize fighter in one of the sport's most famous and controversial fights. Farpo challenged Jack Dempsey for the world weight championship in 1923. Farpo also won when he knocked Dempsey out of the ring. Apparently, Dempsey had a little more help getting back into the ring than was really legal, and there was some questions about the speed of the count. Despite the changes of the rigged match, Dempsey hung on to the title. Okay, now what is that going to do with anything with the cemetery? The final rest. For many of us, Eva Iveta Porya needs no introduction. As the First Lady of Argentina from 1946 until her untimely death from cancer in 1952. Depending on who you talk to, she was either a whore who slept her way to power, and a saint and champion of the poor, whose programs benefited Argentina's citizens to this day. No one has a neutral opinion about her. When she died in 1952, Evans' body became a political football. It is a long and weird story. Just Google it. But the upshot is that the corpse revealed to traveled to Europe and back and got passed around quite a bit before finally ending up in the Durden family tomb in the cemetery. So, people to this day say she still haunts the place. The first girl I talked about haunts the place still. They still say you can hear her scratching and hear, "Help! Let me out! Help!" So if anybody has ever been to that cemetery over there in Europe, please let me know. It's in Argentina. Every time I hear the name Argentina, I just want to start singing, "Don't cry for me, Argentina." Okay. Our last story of the day, guys, is the Fairmount Banff Springs in Canada. Canada's iconic Fairmount Banff Springs Hotel is known for its legendary haunted stories about the tragic end of a bride to be and a helpful staff even after their death. Excuse me. Two elderly women checked into the hotel and called the bell desk for assistance after their keys could not or would not work. The bellman on duty had other things to do and wasn't able to help them for another 15 minutes. Another bellman in played Jack came and helped the two ladies inside. And when the bellman on duty finally managed to get to the two ladies, they had already unlocked the door. He asked them how they managed, and the two ladies said that an older Scotsman in plaid had helped them. The bellman turned white as that description fit perfectly with Sam McCauley, the former head bellman in the 60s and 70s. Probably was, though he heard, and on top of that, he was been dead since 1975. So that's a creepy little story about the place. Step into the historic halls of this hotel and experience the mysterious history. The iconic establishment has been tantalizing travelers with tales of hauntings and long forgotten ghost stories since 1888, making it one of Canada's most interesting haunted hotspots. The hotel is a historic hotel located in Banff National Park in Alberta, Canada. Built in 1888 by railway management William Carnaloui Van Horney and designed by architect Walter S. Painter. The Grand Chattatua style building has been a Canada landmark for more than 130 years. Its picturesque settings in the Canada Rockies are 14 meters altitude makes it perfect for an unforgettable stay. Here's a little bit of history. With its long history, it's no surprise that the hotel is rumored to be haunted. Built in 1888, pioneering Canadian railway chief William Cornelius Van Horn, the hotel was originally used as a Grand Chateau style residence for railway employees before becoming a popular tourist destination. So basically, I guess that's where a lot of the railroad people stayed at and lived at. The hotel has seen many events over the years, from royal visits to mysterious disappearances, all of which have contributed to its reputation as one of Canada's top haunted places. There are more than one ghost supposedly haunting the hotel, like Sam the Bellman, who is mostly spotted at the ninth floor helping guests, but vanishing into thin air if you try to strike up a conversation with him. Okay, now we're going to go through some of the ghosts here and the haunted rooms. Probably the most famous of all the ghosts residing in the hotel is the story of the Ghost Bride. Dates back to the late 1920s. The story goes that on the young couple's wedding day, the bride decked out in her wedding gown. This ended one of the hotel's marble staircase, or descended on one of the marble staircases. Something startled her, causing her to slip and fall. Some say she caught her heel in the hem of her dress. Others say her dress brushed up against a candle's flame. Whatever the cause, the end result is the bride died that night. Since then, the hotel staff and guests alike have reported seeing a woman figure moving up and down the stairs, or seeing a figure in a wedding dress dancing in the ballroom upstairs, pinning for the first dance with her husband that never took place. All right, now we're going to talk about Sam the Bellman. Stories of Sam Macaulay, an old Scottish man who was head bellman during the 60s and 70s, have been circulating around the hotel since his passing in 1975. Supposedly, Sam is a helpful sort of spirit, and most stories involving him mention some service is provided to the staff guest. On one incident involving two elderly ladies, okay, I already talked about that one. Okay, other stories include guests seeing Sam haunting his old office, or seeing him at the end of hallways waving at you. So if you ever need any help and you're there, Sam the Bellman will help you if they're all busy. Wouldn't that be weird? Knowing a ghost helped you like do something and you didn't know it was a ghost until they left. Ain't that crazy? Yeah, that's crazy as a fox. All right, here's some haunted rooms. While they'd rather not mention room numbers, there are specific rooms that staff say are haunted. Guests have reported having their pillows yanked out from under their heads while they sleep, or even being pushed off the bed by some unseen entity. Whatever these spirits haunt its room, it's safe to say that if they cannot rest in peace, they want to make sure you won't either. That makes sense. Another room that shall remain numberless has a story with many variations. But the gist of this is that an entire family was murdered there, and ever since, guests in the room have reported being awakened by screaming. When they turned on the lights, they would see bloody handprints on the mirror. Depending on who tells the story, the handprints either disappear before hotel staff had a chance to clean them, or they wouldn't come off at all. In any case, if you visit the floor where the room should be, you'll find it's been completely covered and it's inaccessible from the hallway, which is either to keep guests out of the room or due to the renovations, depending on who you talk to. Well, if you guys live in Canada and y'all know about this place, tell me about it. Give me some more info on it. Well, guys, it's that time again. I am done with the scary stories. I hope I didn't scare you too much today, and I hope you enjoyed the stories. Thank you for listening to the podcast, guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you for everything, guys. We're getting close to 10,000 downloads, guys. So keep it up, my friends. You guys are amazing. I love you. And keep being scary, man. And until then, we'll holler at you later, my friends. And remember, be scary. Bye.